Hello, my name is Dieter Loosemore and you join me for a design discussion. Now, the title may be a little bit misleading. I'm not going to be talking about Linkin Park and however good that album might be. What I want to talk about today is kind of the dynamic interplay between mechanisms and theme. These are two of the kind of six main things that construct a game. Two of the main ones as far as some people are concerned, but what I want to talk about is how these two together inform the style of game and sometimes a little bit of who the audience is for those. Now, two of the phrases that you may hear around when we're talking about board games is Euro game or a Amerithrash game. And these aren't necessarily so applicable anymore, and we'll come to that. That's the hybrid thing we'll get to. But generally, and this is a gross generalization, it's much more nuanced than this, but for the sake of simplicity, a Euro game typically is a game that prioritizes mechanisms and how things work together and the generation of points over the experience of the theme, if that makes sense. So goods conversion, spending money to move up on tracks, which are just quite abstract thoughts, and you're not really doing the thing that the game says you're doing just to achieve points. What are points? Who knows? Who cares? I just want more of them than you. Typically is a Euro style game, named because more came out of, again this is a while ago, more came out of kind of Germany to begin with, and other European countries have lent towards more this style of game. And the Ameri-thrash or Ameri-thrash, depending if you like it or not, typically, again this is gross generalization, are games that put theme and experience over the core mechanisms. So they're not bad mechanisms at all necessarily, but the way they hang together isn't necessarily as important to the designer as the feel of the game and immersion in that world. So any narrative style game or dungeon crawler where you're just chucking dice to kill lots of bad guys and fight things and survive, and there's a clear win-loss condition, I die or I win, Game of Thrones style. Those are generally the two terms, but what has happened much more within the industry, and certainly within my taste, I tend to be more Euro-minded. I'm a little bit mathematical and scientific in the way that I think anyway, and so having games that allow me to puzzle that thing out suits me. But what's come much more is a hybrid style game, which seems to be the kind of popular thing right now. Games like Scythe, Vindication, and such games that I love a lot take these big grandiose themes like alternate 1920s world, what happened if there were mechs and stuff, and it puts you in this world and there are miniatures and looks like there's going to be combat and we're fighting over stuff and trying to accomplish all these different goals in Scythe, is quite an Amerithrash, I do apologize, theme and attempt to immerse you, and yet the mechanisms are move a pawn and do a goods conversion, get this to spend this to complete this to get points. So there's a Euro style core mechanism, so solid, slightly abstracted mechanisms within a deeply immersive, fun looking, let's go destroy things looking world. And so that seems to be much more the thing. Euro games are starting to employ a bit more narrative, a bit more story to some of the games that come out. So Alexander Pfister makes games, and the last few, like Maracaibo's recently come out, comes with a sort of campaign storybook where it ties together. Now it's a very Euro game, but it's trying to add elements of narrative. And some of the newer dungeon crawls are employing kind of tighter, cleaner, more polished mechanisms that aren't just run into a room, chuck a load of dice, do some stat checks and you're good. You actually have to do a bit of hand management and all this stuff. So they're starting to come together much more. Of course, there are still purer extremes, but this hybrid seems to be where a lot of games are going. And or are a kind of subcategory. I'm not saying that's where the industry is going. There will still be kind of the gradient from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I'm glad that we'll maintain that. But the hybrid seems to be more popular and is in the larger games where my taste seems to go. So that's just trying to explain some of that language for you. I hope that was helpful. If you want to stay updated with other videos that we put out, other design ideas, or the mechanisms videos or reviews or anything, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to stay updated. And follow us on social media. Do just search Win Some Loosemore on all the usual platforms. You'll find me. You get to follow along, see what we're up to. I hope to see you again. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Dieter for Win Some Loosemore. Goodbye.